Folks are down on Texas A&M, and I get it. 5-7 after a big top 5 to 10 AP poll start in 2022, but there's still a lot of talent on campus and a lot of talent coming back for Jimbo Fisher and company. We're going to look at the offense. We got Andrew Hattersley on the line from Gingham 247 Sports. Hey, Andrew.
Mark, how you doing?
I am doing well. How's it going?
Good. Chat a little recruiting. Now we kind of look at the roster as it is as well.
Spring practice coming up real soon, and we wanted to flag you down to get the rundown on, hey, we'll start with Connor Weigman because he seems to be the guy. Max Johnson may have other thoughts about that, and I understand based on his background. But, of course, Haynes King moves on to Georgia Tech, so Connor Weigman seems to be the guy, and he certainly played much better than Haynes King last year. So, of course, King saw the writing on the wall, and Connor Weigman, the guy that everybody's been waiting for, who showed us quite a bit with 8 touchdowns and no picks last year, is the guy.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of excitement about seeing what kind of growth he can make off of last year. Obviously, he got a significant portion of the snaps down the stretch. He missed, I believe, one game, but aside from that, he missed a Florida game. But aside from that, really impressed and I thought you started to see some of those things, especially in the LSU game to close out the year. He was fantastic, and you could start to see that vertical passing game step forward with some of those passes to Moose Muhammad and Evan Stewart. And so, I think folks are kind of waiting to see what kind of jump can he make in year 2. I think everybody pretty much expects him to be the starter and Max Johnson to back him up. It's a position that, aside from Kellen Mond, A&M just hasn't been able to kind of figure out. Haynes King, Zach Calzada both had inconsistencies at the position. Max Johnson flashed as well and then got hurt. And so now the job's kind of turned to Connor Weigman, and was extremely highly touted coming out of high school at Cypress Bridge in high school, and rated as one of the top quarterbacks in the 2022 class. And now I think everyone's kind of looking forward to, from an A&M perspective, what can he do with the job, and can he kind of take it and run with it?
Folks, if you enjoy the content, please subscribe right here at the Voice of College Football. We got Andrew Hattersley on the line. Join him and his work there at Gingham 247 Sports, talking Texas A&M football, of course. And I got to say, it puts Texas A&M in a good spot as I review a lot of these quarterback situations across the country where there are quarterback battles among a lot of talented guys, but they're usually inexperienced. And if you have to go to Max Johnson, hey, a guy that threw for 27 touchdowns against 6 picks at LSU against SEC competition and threw the game winner, obviously, at the end of the season against Texas A&M, that's a good guy to rely on if you need to.
Yeah, and I thought if A&M had to, if he had stayed healthy last year, I think he brought kind of that stability to the room and kind of that veteran presence. When you saw him play against Arkansas, he was under pressure a ton, but I thought he just had more poise and was able to make some of those plays to at least keep the offense functional and keep them moving. I think Connor Weigman probably has a higher ceiling, but if you do need to turn to him, I think he's a guy that's very comfortable in that role. Obviously, was a starter at LSU and has been around college football for a while now. So certainly a guy that you feel good with. And A&M's been in that spot, right? They've been in that spot the past couple of years. When you had the battle between Haynes King and Zach Calzada, you had 2 inexperienced guys there. Even last year when Haynes King won the job, inexperienced. He'd got hurt early in the season against Colorado, and so you turn to the veteran guy in Max Johnson. So I think it's certainly important to have him there. You can see how quickly a season can change. Quarterback injuries happen and things happen. And so to have a veteran guy there and a guy that you'd be comfortable turning to, I think is certainly a better situation than A&M's been in the past couple of years.
I forget what the particular game was, but I know that he played against Miami, Arkansas, and Mississippi State in consecutive games, and the numbers were not great. And Max Johnson was getting all sorts of criticism. And I remember having a couple conversations with some folks here, and I said, "Wait a minute, are you looking at a stat line, or did you watch the game? Like, he was getting blown out. Like, he had guys in his ribs while he's delivering the ball, and he was throwing some dimes. Like,
Yeah,
he's got some ability."
he was under a lot of pressure, especially, that Arkansas game particularly. The line just didn't play well at all, and he was under a ton of pressure. Something that A&M also dealt with early in the year was bad snaps. They dealt with a ton of bad snaps, and so that was also another thing. He wasn't getting a lot of help up front, but I thought some of the plays he was at least able to make, and he did a better job protecting the ball than Haynes King did. And I think that's kind of just A&M just needed a guy who was going to be able to help the offense be functional. Now I think they want to be more explosive, but I think there were a lot of other issues going on that were outside of Max Johnson's control. But you kind of saw that veteran presence start to show through. And it was unfortunate, he gets hurt on kind of a fluky play against Mississippi State, and now suddenly you're kind of playing the quarterback ping pong game again. And they had to turn late in the season to Connor Wigman, and I think he ended up playing better than anybody expected. But I think the one of the things we talked about last year was, given that the season, it became quickly apparent by about midseason that it was going to be a wash. Felt it was kind of important to get Connor Wigman those reps and to be able to understand what you at least had in him. I think it was important to sell from a recruiting perspective, from a directional standpoint, and just to give him that experience, to your point, so you don't go into this year with a guy that's completely inexperienced and you don't know what you have. You at least were able to give him some action down the stretch to get him some experience.
132 attempts against
Yep.
SEC competition.
Extremely
That's quite a bit.
valuable. Extremely valuable. And he's a guy that got better as the year went along. And so I think that's why folks feel a little bit better about the A&M quarterback position heading into this year. You have two guys now that have experience and have been in the fire in the SEC.